Welcome back to the next session, everybody. And I'm delighted to welcome Appu Shaji from Mobius Lab.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. So my name is Appu. I'm the founder and CEO of Mobius Labs. Maybe a little bit about me to start off with. So I started my career initially in academia and has been sort of researching on sort of machine learning and AI for the last 20 years of my life, essentially. Started a couple of companies before. My sort of passion point has always been on computer vision, and but also I love to sort of interact with digital assets, whether it's pictures or videos, etc. And sort of been always been very fascinated how to sort of combine these two. So Mobius is a company we started 4 years back. A little bit about the company. We are a Berlin-based company, but if there is one word to summarize us, we are sort of computer vision nerds with team members all around the organization. So what we are building right now is a computer vision platform that can actually facilitate a lot of business problems, and it's very relevant for the digital asset management world. Yeah, so in generally, content is king. I think I don't have to motivate that to any of these audience in this group. But what we are really fascinating is that there are certain content which is relevant or interesting. Can sort of AI help or work with humans to find that content which is relevant or interesting? So a little bit about this photograph. This photograph was from an exhibition an artist Eric Kessel did in 2009, so it's 13, 14 years back at Amsterdam, where he took photos which was uploaded to Flickr in a day or something, and just spread around the space. And it was really fascinating sort of experience to actually see the content. And just as a reminder, this was 13 to 14 years back. Now the content has exploded many folds. But always what is interesting is that why is that certain content is kind of interesting, and what can technology do to help people to put that content which is interesting for someone, an audience, in front of someone very fast. So in the last few years, there's been many developments in technology. For someone like me who has been building AI solutions, the last 5 years or 6 years was really a period of accelerated development. And people have speculated that computer vision will become the killer app of AI. But in the sort of the DAM world, metadata is of paramount importance. I don't know, I heard this quote from one of the previous DAM festivals that someone was mentioning that metadata is the lifeblood of DAMs, essentially. So how can we, and this seems to be a great match, if computer vision can actually generate the relevant metadata. And that's what I'll be talking about in the next few minutes. Metadata, when you capture metadata, there is multifacet things that you need to sort of consider. So in the sense that it has to consider very basic things like who's in an object or what object is there. But fundamentally, again, it has to capture why it is interesting to an audience. What is the purpose? What is the story it is trying to tell? What is the kind of the aesthetic quality that it has? And I just put this photograph up. This is by the famous photographer Sebastião Salgado. What is an adequate metadata? Sometimes when you start thinking about this work, it starts sort of make you think really deeper there. And in parallel, let me also give you a brief sort of history of what happened to computer vision. So the field was actually invented in late 1960s, 1970s. It was a purely academic discipline. Back then, the technology was nowhere mature. People could, and it was pretty hard to do. Primarily, three things: we didn't have enough data, we didn't have enough compute, or we didn't have enough know. So in the next few decades, people developed a lot of algorithms. I think around early 2010s is that these modern versions of deep learning algorithms started showing promise. But what followed was a lot of hype, frankly, a lot of vaporware, where people were building technology and there was no really product or business use case. And in the evolution the last 3 to 4 years, essentially that's when AI is actually starting to show promise. And one of the critical transformation is that people started thinking about the business problem first and AI as a means to an end, not the end by itself. And this is the kind of the core value or core principle that we also build Mobius Labs, the company, forward. Yeah, so one of the things that AI is able to achieve in the last 2 or 3 years is the granularity of the automated metadata that it can produce has really exploded. So it can, for example, find very generic metadata, like in the video on the left, it's a sports image. But it can also go back and understand very conceptual, very emotional things that, for example, on the video on the right, they're very happy, there are two people, they're dancing, and the granularity of metadata is ever increasing. It's also able to sort of attach certain ranks, saying that how visually impactful a particular content is. And this will help people to sort of search and recommend content in scale. To give an example how we work, and also it's able to go and pick out certain scores or ranks to weigh how suitable a particular picture is for a particular application. For example, picture on the left is something which has an aesthetic or a style which is very much valid for a press journalistic image. Whereas on the right side, the AI is able to sort of score, saying this is not much of a press image, but is very good for an influencer score. The one on the middle, it's the picture of my daughter. It's pretty good photo to print out for my personal use, for example. And it's also able to identify who's in the photo, what they're doing, etc. So what's happening is that with this rich metadata, how value is being created, and that's something that always fascinates us. So we work with large sections of companies who has large amount of digital assets. So for example, we work with a lot of press companies or stock companies or archival companies to power their search and recommendation engine. So one example is a press agency who's getting thousands of 10,000s of images ingested into the system. You can get high quality metadata in seconds. That means that the time to generate this metadata and the effort and the cost are significantly reduced. So there is a significant OpEx reduction. But at the same time, when you show relevant result to the relevant users, the user engagement is increasing. That results in direct revenue increase. And when we work with companies which are a bit more modern, like in the sense that use a lot of social web, etc., how can you curate social feeds in scale? Again, the same business drivers. It's helping in taste making and matching content in scale, thereby generating revenue, and the operation cost reduces by having a significant less OpEx. And maybe give an example of one of the advances and one of the main things that AI has to do is it has to capture relevance. For example, let's take this metadata, but that metadata has to power applications like search or recommendation. And often, if you don't have the high quality or relevant metadata, that means that the search it's working to a certain extent, but it's not creating good user experience. I'll give you a case study. For example, you want to search for a very specific thing. You want to find millennials doing yoga. Sometimes AI results is like you get pictures of old people or like yogis doing yoga. That's not what you want, or the style is not matched. This is where we come in, where the metadata is highly consistent and highly suitable. So again, that's where the granularity comes really important, where it's able to go and analyze very deep aspects of it, and then now you search for that, the quality is really, really good. You can also guide the search by giving certain candidate example images to find it of a particular style. Yeah, and the next one is it's of a matter of taste, which means you like sometimes it's not the relevance is only the thing. You need to get certain images or videos of a particular style, because how do you sort of translate ideas like flamboyant, inclusiveness, or urban, nocturnal, cyberpunk, and tell AI what is possible? That's where our technology comes in, where you can again feed the AI with a visual, because images speak more than 1,000 words. So the correct way of actually identifying taste or brand or aesthetics sometimes is through reference images, and this is what AI does automatically. And suddenly you will be able to go and find content that matches the brand or the style that you want to see very easily. And I think one of the things that we are really, really excited is the no-code future. And especially when we work with creative domains, no-code future is really, really important, because I, being a developer, the world I see is something like this. I spend a lot of time looking at code, for example. It's a very pleasurable activity, but a creative organization or a person is essentially looking at elements of style, elements of choices, which are maybe a bit different. And the AI sometimes has been trained by data scientists who's a bit far removed from this process. So we have to close that gap. And that means that we have to let creatives or people who are not really fully a data scientist to train the AI according to their sort of needs. I'll give an example here. So here is a gallery, an archive. I think this is a public domain archive, I think New York Art Gallery. And you can see images like these. Suppose you want to organize archives. You want to say, find images or add tags to images of all the old sports images coming. So you can come to our interface. You can either search from existing content or give it few example images. In this case, there were these baseball images. Let's see. Yeah, these kinds of baseball images, and you want to have a tag specific for that. Just give it few example images. You train, and here you can see the results immediately. So this is searched like this. Over 5 million images was automatically organized, and then you can come and fine tune and say what is working, what is not working, in a very pure human computer interface. And then you can see the tags, the relevance of the tags, what is important for you is being captured. And there's not a single line of code that was written. Everything was done in a very easy to understand interface. And I will give you one more example of that. Let's go. So this is sort of a homage to Vivian Maier, who was a photographer who was never discovered while she was living. And then there was a Oscar-winning documentary about her. She used to take amazing street photographs of New York, pictures like this. So now you have an archive, and there are amazing photographers in your archives, and you want to find the next Vivian Maier. You can use AI to sort of go and find these kinds of photographs. Here it's matching photographs that is matching Vivian Maier's style. And this is amazing what AI is actually working with humans to actually solve a very human problem. And here are other examples when we are working with press companies to find, for example, how can you find images of refugee crisis that's happening in scale? And we are able to train these models in very, very small time, like it at an average takes 3 to 4 minutes, and not with a single line of code being written. And again, there are a few examples which I show, and it's of various applications, various domains. So it's really making the AI fit the business problem rather than you trying to fit an AI to your business problem. And let me give you we do work and plug and play with existing DAM solutions. So we have integrations with in Binder, Editures, Cloudinary, Kando, Orange Logic, etc. And more integrations are coming in at this moment. So if you are a DAM provider in the audience, or if you are an archive manager in the audience, we would love to have a conversation, love to understand your problems that you are trying to solve and how we can help. So I'm really looking forward for that. A little bit, I will sort of end my session with a couple of testimonials from people that we have worked with. So for example, we have a partnership with Binder. And Brad, who's SVP of Global Alliance, and this is what he had to mention about Mobius Labs. He was particularly impressed with the results that he's seen from our solution. And another DAM MAM that we are working is EditShares again. Really helping companies like EditShares and to sort of help them in the reingestion process. And how can we actually manage large archives and tag historical files in scale. So this is where we are really, really passionate about. And maybe the last thing, what we deliver to our customers is this SDK and the no-code AI, which says either gets integrated to your DAM system or can work standalone. But we and it's always an on-prem installation with an explicit promise that we never see your data, because people who manage assets, the assets are the most valuable things, and a lot of AI companies tries to sort of use that asset to improve the model, but we make a promise that we are a pure enabler or empower. We are not after your data. And it's very easy to sort of customize our solution. We're giving you absolute control with 100% data privacy. So thank you. We have a booth also in the conference. And my team is there. So we'll love to sort of, if you can pop around and have a conversation, and really loving to, we love to do this. Thanks a lot. And I hope the session was useful for you. So I think we don't take any questions. So hope to see you, catch up with all of you soon.